Diane Butler, I'm going to be the moderator today. I am from Honest, Mass. Very locally in Montana. And my background is I've been in tech for quite a while in the people capital space and leadership roles. And I'm excited today. Actually, we're all really excited to be here because people are excited to talk about this topic, which we know is hard. But what I'm going to do is really, the panel is going to introduce themselves, and instead of a little structured, moderated situation, we can go a little free form and have you ask questions. If you get stuck, we'll throw in some questions for it now. So, let's go.
We're going left to right, I think. Hi, my name is Robert Zeri. I moved to Montana in 1999 to join a little company called Right On Technologies, who you all may know our founder, Greg. So I'm working in the technology industry for years. I have to be clear because we're being recorded that I'm here as my own self, and whatever I say is not Oracle's opinion. Never Oracle that. Yeah, I'm just fascinated and love the education. So whatever we can do to help this weird new world we need to. Just ask.
I'm David Kelly. I'm a senior engineer at Workiva. We're a business to business SaaS company kind of focused in the financial reporting sector.
My name is Mr. Bro. I am a grad student at Montana State University, but I've been also joined Workiva as an intern this May, and still looking here to my master's at MSU. Here a year ago, and yeah, had other issues involved. Before that, teenagers, so that we came from Pakistan. I'm Chris Dahl. I work at Zoot Enterprises. My role is director of software there. I'm a former graduate of computer science from MSU, and I think John passed and probably the only professor left here who's still here there. So that kind of gives you a little but anyway, I've been Zoot for about 19 years now. I had a few other jobs in the valley leading up to that, and decided to be able to interface.
I'm Rebecca Savage. I'm the director of solutions developers. I'm also the temporary director of project managers as well at this time. I've been in for 7 years. And then prior to that, I was an environmental scientist, operations manager, project manager for forensics. So the biggest one that was at operating at a site for 16 years. This position happened. And don't judge me, but I am a graduate of that. I did go here to get my master's in environmental engineering, not crazy stuff.
Great, thank you. Who wants to start us off with a question? Right up there.
Yeah, my name is Gideon. I'm currently in a PhD program there. I just want to ask all the two people that work as work that I applied there like twice right now. I didn't hear about you guys, so I want to ask like, what do you do for in an intern before you invited for interview? Because I had previous experience as a JP Morgan, where I was doing financial bill. I feel like my experience can used to what you do Workiva. So I want to ask, like, can you shed more light towards how I can be successful when I'm applying for application as Workiva?
Yeah, I don't know if this fully answers your question, but I did talk to our HR department prior to coming here, and we do have. I'm assuming you're looking for an internship while you're still in your PhD program. But yeah. So we have a generic software engineering intern listing, and I can share some of this information with probably John Paxton or somebody. But I believe that deadline closes the 28th of September. It's kind of unfortunate because we don't quite make it to the MSU career fair because of that. But yeah, I think probably speak to me after, during the networking session and I'll talk about that a little.
But you're gonna tell us, you have something you can
We-
this,
Yes, that's correct.
and how would one find out about those, do you have on the website?
We do, and we actually have a session, we 17th, so that would be Wednesday, but I can send that information as well.
Could maybe we could expand that question and just invite all the panelists to maybe talk about if somebody is interested in working at your company, what advice would you offer them?
And I think I can go from the, since the work you have been asking, I can, yeah, like this, there's a lot of competition in the internships right now, I'm sure like everyone knows about that and it's clear. And I think, yeah, Workiva, that's the way we walk. Remember, I think it's opened a lot of positions for the interns, and I think the most important of this is to kind of, which is about the aligning those very, very closely with part of the company that you are applying, not really about applying in my experience, that's for me personally, and I think it's not for everyone really, for really well, really works, rather really target, very, rather than have very small applications and we're right there, but I think that's how it also works, but, is there people for the strong with applying with more people goals and people that do their research. But I think that that's the way, we'll want to hire those individuals, that are so know about the company on and are interested specifically in that, not just general job, specifically at about setup with.
We're not understanding, so that's the thing where I should ask, right to that job, that is one thing that. Like, it's really easy to, I call it, spray and candidates, if you will, but, you really need to target your public answer up, just into that job.
I can second that, we just saw how harsh, variations. And it's amazing the cover letters that, use AI, your cover letter, but they're not tailoring their cover letter to the role in which they're applying. You need to really show who you are as a person in that cover letter, and you really need to be specific that that's the role you're applying for, and why you want to work. And these research companies, how can you, what can you do to provide that the company has that you would like?
And I would add to that, there was a time frame where cover letters were like, yeah, you know, cover letter. I think that's an edge up. So, if we're back in the era of cover letters and talk about why you have passion for this job and what you can bring to that.
Yeah, because Zoot as a whole is very much moving to on-site only for a lot of our new hires. And it's very important that you have, that you're with the cover letter with that person that you're showing who they are, you're engaging with the roles that you're applying, and then definitely when you come to the interviews, have questions and research the companies that those questions are relevant. No, you know, I keep them on.
Yeah, I guess I'll make a 3-layer comment. One is, for better or for worse in the macroeconomic, if you watch the news, like Salesforce just laid off 4,000 people and Oracle laid off, they don't have a number, but there was layoffs there. Microsoft did a thing, so you're eating with people like me. And I'm probably the only person here that's met a computer science degree.
No.
Well, good, we put in. So there's that layer, then there's the layer, and I'd reiterate, like, figure out what the company does and why you wanna work there. Cause you're gonna spend X amount of time there, and if it's not a thing you're passionate about, then you shouldn't go after it. And conversely, if you are, then target it and say, hey, I did a bunch of research, you have this position open, here's why I think I'm the person, and here's what I'd love to deliver. And then be ready. I think a lot of people, when you do interviews, they're like, okay, do you have any questions? Like, you're done if you don't have some questions, right? Which is the research part. Because I wanna know why you want to work there. And if you don't have good questions, we'll start a conversation and then.
Anything else that you want to add? Okay, great. Another question? Yes, sir.
Applicant green flag,
Applicant what?
green flags, like good things to see in an application, things that stand out that are really good.
So show me the thing, the last thing you did on GitHub. Whether it's like, I did this open source thing, or built this thing, or, right, that's like often if you're going for a development role, alright. Send me the link,
You should be able to speak to the project done, be passionate about the questions done.
right,
Speak to them and be on and off of testing. That's you guys, like, a lot of interviews, they don't think about, how did I test? Probably very shy, so that's a big one.
yeah.
80% of your job as a developer is helping, but 20% is testing and bringing it.
Anyone else? Hopeful? Hopefully. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I know a lot of new grads, they typically apply for general software engineering role. There were some less traditional technical positions that new grads can look for.
It is.
I can,
Good.
yeah, okay, just, we're going through hiring still right now, like on software, you have a number of roles from project management to software engineers, quality assurance, and automation engineering. All of which, I mean, maybe not project management, so like, but everything's very technical, even quality assurance. And, you know, being able to go in and, you know, understand the code and know how to test, be able to interface with clients and read requirements, and that is a easy job with computers, science graduates. That's something that we commonly hire for, that isn't just pure software engineering. Another one that we are kind of staffing up for right now, like I mentioned, automation engineering, which is a really exciting time to do, because we have a major system that we work on. And every time we make a change, it is very expensive for us to go in and test all of it. And so building automation from a testing perspective, like a DevOps, built through pipeline up so that you can go through post production, you know, with no let at all. It's really at a hot touch right now.
Yeah, I think certainly those DevOps roles, there are plenty of opportunities out there for those that. I don't think computer science degrees, translated pretty well too. I got my start, as a site reliability engineer in Oracle actually. So I feel like that really kind of helps with, my understanding of system architecture and stuff like that, so, yeah, those are.
And I think every company has those certain roles that are just specific for that, like we have what we call service operations. Not that 24/7 support and provide for all other transactions in production. So if we just call it help desk, right, it's a service operations role. It is a great introductory role, it's also a great long-term role for the positions within that role. It's a great role for students as well, and it also teaches you about learning structures, not just building a focus and support problems for the role. So if you're ever interested in the openings that are out there and what does that mean, you can always reach out. They can help you. They always explain that.
Would that be on the website?
You just go to the solution, and then there's the careers tab, drops down, and then you can.
I think one more thing I would say is I would encourage you all to not necessarily think of yourselves as like the developer skills and ninja thing, right? If you're good at it and you've done the work. But the real, like, especially going forward with, you know, we're doing things for like teams of agents, and I don't know how long every minute, but just like writing code and checking it in and testing it and delivering it. And so the value chain is going up where it's kind of like the companies are looking at, we have customers, they have needs. How do we meet those needs? And how we meet those needs is through the work that you do. And so I would encourage you to think that, like maybe one layer up, I spent 5 years at right now doing product management, which is the translation job, like you hear what the customer's problem is and you deliver the thing, right? And so now you have this extra free time because you have Claude and, you know, all these other tools. And if you move up that value chain and start to get into the, this customer has this problem, I can show you how to solve this problem. That's a whole different thing than like, I'm writing some code. And no disrespect, right? It's gonna be an interesting time. I think that the tool set is. I did a thing yesterday. I was working on an electronic thing for Arduino for our boat. I was like, well, how do you connect the Arduino IDE to Git? And it came up with this total hallucination, completely false, right? But if you didn't know enough to know that it's false, you just go running down this road. And so I think you can take that skill you have and this window of opportunity before the tools get really good. And then combine that with like listening to what the business wants and delivering some value. That's how I think about it. I saw an article yesterday, there's a company in the Bay Area, I can't think of the name of it, I can look it up if anyone's interested. They're billing out people who know, who are like can field AI well at $900 an hour. Right? Some experience required, but 250 wouldn't be bad.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was gonna say, as a personal opinion or as a company, what do you expect out of an intern for knowledge and experience and to kind of maybe consider them more for a conversation or as like see them as a selling internship?
I'll jump in, when I, in the past, when I brought the interns in. At first, I expect them to have, you know, a base technical knowledge, which usually is accomplished in, you know, a year-ish of here at MSU. But what I'm looking for a lot, you know, the technical stuff, I'm looking a lot more for, you know, the passion, the drive to, you know, jump in and take on responsibility and, you know, kind of be part of the team rather than feeling like you're an outsider as an intern. And we've had a lot of really good luck, bringing in or then, and then, you know, those who kind of bubble up from the top because of those things that I just mentioned have made really good long-term flows.
I just, I agree.
Yeah.
Personally, I guess I can jump in because I'm currently an intern and I've had some internships in the past as well, but, you know, I think the most, I will give this recent year, the most thing that I learned, at least from looking at others, successfully other talented people, that how much curious they are actually about technology, about learning. And I think all of them, all the other teams that I worked with, were super passionate about really, and they were really like, they were basically unstoppable. Like they wanted to learn something, they would do that. And but yeah, that's how I got an impression from other students about what I could do better also, and so kind of reflect back on it. I think, yeah, that's kind of the most important one, being really resilient and being curious about the company and what we do better in this space. Looking for some flaw, or something like that, but maybe you can improve upon, even as an intern. I think that's something that will usually stand out from doing the hiring process and doing your internship if you get one. And yeah, that's something that
What I have is curiosity. I would totally agree that if I can pick one, curiosity is probably toward the top of the list, and then critical thinking comes with that as almost any job. But I think in the age of AI in particular, that's going to be critical.
I think the thing that's intern is to not think of yourself as temporary. What would you do if you were a new hire and now you new job? You would hit the ground running. You know, you would want to show yourself as adding value. So don't use yourself as something as an intern. Go all in.
I think a lot of the successful interns do that we extend, like, full-time offers to tend to be the ones that are asking a lot of questions or kind of showing an interest in the products they're building. Not just, you know, heads down, trying to write code all the time. We don't necessarily use that as like a telltale sign that, someone will be successful as a full-time employee. So yeah, I think to everyone else's point, like showing that an interest and curiosity, and not being afraid to ask questions.
It's not being happy to speak up, because there was like several times we mentioned it where I guess like, yeah, the first week is very difficult. You see everyone kind of up top and everyone kind of like, maybe you see them over kind of like maybe have that tendency to kind of stay quiet. But I think once you start going, speaking your opinions, then they really see you as a part of the, you know, the person and not just the guy who agrees with everything that everyone's saying. Right, so you can provide feedback, or you can even have it, maybe it's wrong, maybe it's exactly wrong, so even like this kind of process of challenging things on other people, that's something that. Not really, that's what it was.
Other question? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm an undergraduate CS student here. And first of all, thank you all for hosting this panel. I was wondering, like, what should college students be doing right now to future-proof their skills in an increasingly AI-driven world?
Who wants to go first?
Well, I have one quick response to that. Don't do your coding with AI.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, because I've got this strategy, I don't develop professionally a lot anymore, but I do projects at home. And it's so easy to go out and like, okay, I need to write a method that will do this, I'm gonna ask AI to do it. But I just got myself down a lot by doing that. You know, just go through the hard parts of doing your assignments, and if you're working on any other projects. And don't use it, because you're gonna develop that critical thinking then that you can replace with AI. Oh, yeah, so we were kind of talking about this, leading up to this panel, and this is probably part of another conversation, but Zoot is very much kind of in the early phases of bringing AI into our company, and a lot of the challenges we have is with protecting our data, protecting our intellectual property, making sure that it doesn't, you know, leak outside of you know, our walls. And so part of the work that we're doing is investigating like all of the AI choices out there, from ChatGPT to Grok to Claude to Copilot, you know, all of this, and every one of them kind of comes with some pros and cons, but pretty much across the board from a coding accuracy standpoint, and who knows, this could have changed in a week. But 2 weeks ago, when we were looking into it, roughly the average accuracy rate on coding prompts from any one of those, you know, AI chatbots out there is like 50 to 60% accuracy, you know, and that's pretty low. Like, I would never hire somebody who, you know, at that. Yeah, and so it can be a aid for people, you know, to use, but boy, don't get too used to it.
And even in any aspect of using AI, humans should always be validating the results you're getting back. And if you're relying on AI to do a lot for you, you're leaving yourself in a detriment to hone your skills in, and then you do use AI, how are you going back to it?
I'd say, I guess, one other thing, which is like, I've encouraged you all, I think it relates a little to my earlier comment. Networking, like actual, so there's someone in this room, I don't look closely at the name, but I got that, oh, I'd like to connect on LinkedIn. And I never take those requests. The request I will always take is like, hi, I'm Sally, and I saw your profile, and I have this question, and I hope you would give me some time to talk about it, right? And I think if you genuinely engage and like build that network, so my middle kid was one of John's students 3-4 years ago. And he's now back in town for the summer getting an internship, built a full network, and he got himself in there. And so, and I have, for someone who's interested, there are 3 opportunities at Gallatin High School to go volunteer. And so if you come see me afterwards, you'll get connected into this network. Who knows where it leads? But if you build that network of people that you genuinely have some question for or connection with or whatever, I use that thing every day. I've 50 years worth of connections. I did it this morning. I brokered a connection for a lady who's working for Cheryl Sandberg, who's the Facebook COO. I brokered a connection with her for somebody who could get her to her next career back. And I do that all the time. And it's only because like I've been lucky enough to build a network. But if you build your own network, you will find over the arc, you're gonna work for 20, 30, 40 years, unless you become an entrepreneur and you connect it. And you will find that network invaluable. So, piece of advice.
So there are some events that we do in internships that I think the university has, you know, if you want to go to one of those, you can watch us on LinkedIn, but yeah, there's tickets, we can get you in there, but of course, for me, I'm like, we're gonna be introvert and an extrovert, so I'm like, oh man, what do we do? If you go to one of those and you want a buddy, I'll be your wing woman, I'll help introduce you or whatever, but, yeah, just. Don't be afraid to show up, it's a great group, they're really excited to see you and meet you.
And on that note, sorry, Bill.
Oh, I was just wondering, I missed that last part, where did you say those events or what organization?
We have them in different cities, and maybe you wanna speak to that?
Sure. I am Christina Henderson. I'm the executive director of the Montana High Tech Business Alliance and the Montana Jobs Network. So we're kind of the host that worked with the Gianforte School of Computing to put this on. But we have regular happy hours and networking events for tech industry people broadly, and a number of departments on campus, including the College of Engineering and the Gianforte School of Computing, have memberships. And we encourage students to come as part of that membership. So you can reach out to us, you could reach out to, John Paxton or your professors and find out when those events are happening and ask if you can come. But we extend the invitation. We love when students come, and to be perfectly honest, very few students take advantage of the opportunity. It's the exceptional students who are motivated, who really want to start talking to hiring managers that tend to show up. So it's a great way to set yourself apart. And I find that by and large, the employers in the room are really excited to talk to you and learn about what you're doing and, stay in touch with what's happening with younger people and what you're learning in school.
Yeah, because we just start, we just couple of women in computing, we went to women in computing, and we just started to meet, folks that showed up to that. So if you're meeting us, if you're meeting us all the time, we will remember you when you send in your resumes or when we interview them. So we want to get to know you as a person. So please come to as many of those events as you can. We're always there and we will remember you.
And one other, this might sound too obvious, but another event that I would recommend everybody go to, even if you're not near graduation, that is the career fairs that MSU puts on. I know Zoot always has a booth at the career fair, and one of the things that I have gotten from that, I've been able to go for a number of years now. And I love it. I've had freshmen come up to me as they are in computer science and ask about Zoot. We talked for a while, I kind of described, what we do. They tell me what they're passionate about. And then, next year or the next career fair, maybe that was in the fall, and the spring one, that same person comes up. And one person in particular that I'm thinking about, I kind of saw go from a freshman, junior, or freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, and ended up hiring this person first as an internship. And then long term after that, because he just kind of kept that. Yeah, and it kept the talks going, and I learned him, he got comfortable with me, and it was really good result.
The ones that stick, they show up their resume, they have a conversation. I make sure that I'm writing on the resume after they leave. Just details, so I can remember you by, but yeah, those events really are getting this person for.
And often if we don't, if one of us doesn't have a goal, but you know what, go over there because we know that they're hiring for that.
That's you're the question here. Do you have a question?
No.
Okay. So what of the?
My question is going to this one, but I want to do it because question. If you told us that we should show for either kind of income.
Yes.
So sometimes they say from a research work, sometimes we try thousands of coding gives answer, but those are like private jobs. So and I do not contribute to open source anymore. Because I'm the busy, so how should we actually be?
So this is a challenge. And so the reason you don't open those repos is because of, is it a university thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I ran into this, so I'll answer your question in a second, I'm gonna take a little detour. How many people here are aware that the Blackstone Launchpad exists over in the sun? Okay, great. So for those of you that aren't, that thing was 2013, that one, 2014. I was the first director of it and it's blown up now. And I would encourage you to go over there because it's kind of like you can go get a job. This is where I get uninvited to the next section here. You can go get a job or you can start a business, right? And so that's a great place to go if you have an idea. I don't know if you follow, like 5 years ago, I wanted this thing where I could take a picture of my food and get the calorie count. And there's a 18-year-old kid, you see this article? So he figured out this problem, it couldn't have been figured out when I thought it could. So his startup, he started coding when he was 7, he's 18 now. His startup that does this thing where you take the picture and it tells what the calories are, $1.4 million a month in revenue. It's an outlier, so it doesn't happen for everybody, but like, if you have an idea, you should go explore it. And so I guess the thing that I ran into with the launch pad was they wanted me to sign this thing and say like, we own everything you do, and I was like, yeah, you don't, actually, that's not what I care. And so I would encourage you to think about like, maybe find some stuff that you can put out there that isn't under some, right? Or do, I get the open source, but I think that we did this, we grew right now from, I don't know, I joined as the 20th person, we grew it to 1,200 and Oracle nicely bought us for $1.5 billion. And every developer has showed up, it's like, here's the assignment, go do it and bring it back. And so you may find that it's a great way to get in the door, but only if you're willing to show what you're doing, right? Sorry, you can do that. Good.
Other questions? Yes, sir.
Can we back up maybe just for a second, like, just talk about what has AI changed in your workplaces and what has not changed?
That is a great question. Nobody asked, but I'm gonna,
Oh, yeah.
you wanna?
You want to?
Yeah, well,
Thank you.
what everybody guys done?
As Chris had said, Zoot is it has to be very strategic in implementing the AI in our company. Just because council is familiar with what he does, but we deal in not only PII, but we are also dealing with our clients. Technical information, so we're gonna be very strategic in how we implement it. We're very much new to the AI thing. And we're being very strategic how we implement it and where it is and on what level that we are. But at no point is it to replace our employees. It is to provide the answer your question. So now that you guys, I think it's a part of the reason for this was, are you worried about AI and it's replacing you in the job? For Zoot, no, it was actually helped by this. And we won't have to on how we say it.
Yeah, I think in terms of like, as a developer, using AI as a tool, I think anybody who's used that has seen some of the limitations, that has. So I don't think there's really any risk of that, replacing human developers anytime soon. I think, Workiva as a whole though has challenged, developers to be thinking about ways that we can utilize AI in our products. So we are now kind of rolling out, like chat assistants and things like that with a lot of the solutions we're developing. That's just kind of become like to be competitive in the market space and everything. Things like that are becoming, looking for ways to implement AI in the solutions that you develop. It's probably the biggest shield that I've seen.
Yeah, I guess I'll flip flop on that. You should build your own thing, so you should go work for a company. So inside my current employer, it's crazy the amount of stuff we're doing with AI. Like expenses, oh, there used to be an expense department, like back in the day, you paid your receipt for the piece of food, you could probably believe it. Now I go to the restaurant, I shoot the photo and like I'm done, now the whole thing is done. Armies of people that used to with the receipt, not anymore, contracts, renewals, all these things are just automated now. We did, if you go back and watch, if you're interested to see how fast it's, I would say go back and watch the last 3 earnings calls. And see like, oh, we closed this $9 billion quarter in 10 days. $9 billion worth of contracts in 10 days, used to take 30. So it's the real world applications and it's like, it's an exponential thing where now they're like, oh, this team of agents has a manager, has a developer, has a tester, that has a thing. And they just like autonomous set, like, it's hard for me to believe. As the guy who grew up, my first computer had 8K of RAM. You smile. It's a little hard to believe that like this is actually real, but it's real. So
I'll speak on behalf of Applicant. So where we're at, obviously, if you know our product, a lot of it's customer trust, right? If we have a hallucination, somebody could get lost on a mountain, which would be bad. So we are more like Zoot in our adoption.
Mm.
And where we're starting from is really changing our culture about being inclusive of AI in your daily work. And obviously that impacts the administrative first. But we are, we're getting ourselves really educated, understanding accuracy is critical. So, we're not ignoring, we're on that wavelength there, but we're not as fast as your company would be.
It's good, it's a,
Different products, different, yeah, what you're doing. So this is where you get into, what does your business do?
Right.
To impact how you might.
right,
AI.
I love Onyx, by the way. Just to be clear.
I don't want to be involved.
Yeah, right. Where's that corner? Good.
Yes,
Across the panel, I'm hearing that different companies are adopting AI as a tool to help developers. So, given that there are limitations to AI, has that changed the scope of the testing work?
Mm.
And has that opened more opportunities in the testing space?
Well, I can speak. So at Zoot, we are still in the act, we're trying to get like AI chatbot brought into Zoot. And so we don't really have any data yet, to be able to answer that question. And I hear myself, it sounds kind of funny that, you know, we're a 300 plus person company and we don't even have access to, you know, ChatGPT. And what I don't know, this might be pretty common knowledge, but something that's really interesting is if you log into any one of the, like the free versions of any AI out there and type something in, anything you type into that can and will be used to train their models, you know, moving forward. And so you actually have to go out and pay for like enterprise version of, you know, ChatGPT, for example, to get that data safety, which has, you know, I mean, obvious, you know, an ability to slow it down because it does get somewhat expensive. When you're, you know, looking at doing this because it's depending on, you know, how many people will be accessing it, and, you know, a number of other things, but, I think, I know a number of other, colleagues at other companies, they're kind of going through something similar to where, you know, their legal teams and their risk departments are very, intent on protecting their intellectual property. And so not everybody's moving maybe as fast as Oracle. And I think that's probably pretty common, you know, with the bigger companies, they probably have just the resources to be able to dive into that a little bit quicker than some of us, but I don't know.
So I think the interesting thing there, and back to the testing thing, it's like a level above testing, it's governance. Which is, I mean, in the business that Zoot's in,
Yeah.
which is great, like, trust is everything, you don't have a business, the minute that, yeah. And so, for us, like, we have one of my clients, I have to be very careful about names, this is the largest business social net, I'll say. You could probably extrapolate who that is, it took them a year, we wanted to do a simple project, relatively simple, it took a year to get through the governance. And we have another one in the northwestern United States, a large retailer that said, it'll take 2 years to get through that governance. So I think back to the testing is crucial because that's how you prove that you have the ability to ingest that data and keep it safe, right? One of our big selling things is data sovereignty, like if you want a wrap and you want all that thing to stay within your, like we can build one that's the size of that, or we can build one that's, you know, the latest one is the 8747 to put hard notes. It's a big thing, but you might be mixing stuff. We don't do that, but others do. So I think it's a, to your point personally, like you're like, oh, I'm gonna do this stuff in ChatGPT, like all of that is training those models. Just be aware.
do you guys have enterprise?
So we don't use that internally as a tool.
Yeah.
We are now, if you watch the last earnings call, we just did a $300 billion deal with OpenAI, so we're gonna be enforcing all that. So I expect that might change.
We're using enterprise,
And so you have some better guardrails and.
and we got up way in front, got it in right.
Yeah.
And then we tested yours, like, I can't remember my conversation.
But back to the testing, like, it leaks sometimes.
So that,
If the testing's not good. So if your question is, should I go into testing? I would say that's not a bad thing.
Definitely testing is never a bad way to go into development, so it's very much needed.
yeah,
Where do you guys see data privacy in 20 years?
I'll be dead, so.
I mean, just looking at the trends, I think over the past 20 years, it has only become more important. And people have realized through, every front page article you read about a company getting breached or, data loss. It can cost companies hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars, depending on like the loss that you're talking about. And so I don't think that's ever gonna slow down. I mean, I think it's only, adding like AI, I still think it's. And the more we start relying on computers and not knowing exactly what is happening under the hood, because frankly, that's what's happening in AI right now. It is very difficult to guarantee security. And so I think it's only gonna become more and more important.
When everyone's a code, and you can't explain why that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's the challenge. Getting better.
other questions?
Speaking as an undergrad, how, you guys talk about writing your own projects, how important is formal education versus showing your projects and showing what you worked on? Informal education.
That's the difficult.
They all are important to you, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm looking at that person and really trying to be the right person, and so everything that you do, even you just having a job in college gives me information on who you are, that work ethic that you have. So don't limit yourself to one or the other, they are both benefits, and speak to who you are on that resume and in the interview as well. So even if you're doing something that target culture college, that shows me that you, what's in your book on college and really down a job, those all play a role. You are the sort of fence, you stand out to who you're applying to. But it is important to keep up your skills at active. And not everybody gets a job after they graduate, but there's a role in that, making sure that you're maintaining that skill set.
I think you're gonna see John, I don't know if John, it's been 10 years I've been on the board, CS department. And John has been an amazing pioneer in looking at that whole, like, at the end of the day, you get this piece of paper after 4 years. And to me, it's about accreditation. It took me the longest time to understand that, and I'm sure John is probably over this conversation by now. But at the end of the day, you've like gone through this thing and learned these engineering principles. And that's where that value is, which is why we'll all continue to push forward with this. I think that you're gonna see there's like, I posted, if you look at that, it's something about 5 delivers are lying to you. Unless I find these articles that I think are very relevant, and then just post them and add a little bit. And so I think the value of the degree is that you did, my middle kids, I might taking count too, I'm like, because you're learning how to learn and solve problems. And that's fine. That's, yeah, but not everybody's like that. I personally love that, but not everyone does. And so I think there's the discipline of engineering, which like, it's of inestimable value. And then there's the other part where you just have to do the side part, like, hey, look, I did this cool thing, right? Yesterday, I freaked him out, I had this little like cheap yellow display ESP32 thing, and I programmed it to say, you are the awesome AI engineer. Like, he's not a hardware guy, he's like, what is that? And so I think that curiosity combined with the discipline of engineering is where the magic lies going forward.
And me personally, when I was undergrad, I didn't finish the school year undergrad, but I found the school that I finished, there was not so much aspect put on the practical aspect of software. Rather, the classes were more like learning based and all of that stuff. There wasn't much of a practice and implications of the stuff that we were learning, at least when I was doing undergrad. And the way, it's kind of difficult to go through that because during the application or internships or like a full-time role as well, they look for something that, also develop or something, and, it's like, and then it's true that public analytical opportunities, but even the smallest ones, like labs, or maybe unpaid internships, or maybe unpaid projects, that could really, even those small, like, kind of steps, they elevate, and then they kind of snowball a little bit, and then you kind of boost you to get this internship, maybe on the smaller level, and then that smaller internship got to give you a bigger internship next year, next semester, and just forth, so then kind of goes on rolling, forth, but it's tough, but it's very difficult to start big, you have to kind of start on those practical aspects, especially when you're at events, and those are sometimes challenging to find, you know, and, but yeah, just starting small and getting like those steps little by little, and yeah, and then, but I think that's at least what I thought.
The last time I saw the differential equation was 40 years ago, but I still use that knowledge of like that agony I'm trying to figure out how to work that every day.
I have two questions. The first one is how much are you adopting AI in the hiring process of select companies? And the second is, when you're hiring maybe a developer or an analyst, how much does having the AI experience added into the like selling themselves to you, the company? You got like a good thing you're looking for is you pay more someone who speaks the traditional ways they without having AI as well.
As a hiring manager, as hiring project manager and developers, I do not use AI. I go through every single resume that hits my door and review it. I think it's important to not do something like AI as a I want to see that person, who they are. I want to be able to review them and do that. So I go through every application that is made, no matter which way I application. And then as far as AI experience, it's not applicable to the solution developer, which is the team that I run. I mean, there's lots of that.
So,
That is.
no, actually, a really interesting question, and I have not, thought about that in the interviewing process, so I think it's a great question. Maybe, I'll give a little sort of backstory, about 3 months ago. A resume came across my desk and I looked at it, and I thought, man, this person looks really good on paper. And had some code samples and whatnot, like, holy cow, you know, we got to bring him in for it. So we brought him in, and it was in about 15 minutes, abundantly clear that he had no idea what was going on. I mean, everything that he gave us as far as like for example and whatnot was either stolen from somebody else or completely AI generated. And so that kind of turned me off a little bit right there. And so now I guess my question is, how do I filter out those who might be using AI to make themselves look better rather than wanting that as an experience that someone has? So just my 2 cents about it. As I said earlier to one of the other questions, you know, I think the worst thing that people can be doing right now is their assignments using the help of it.
Yeah. I mean, during your interview, you're gonna have to be able to speak to those that and AI.
I think for me, that I will, decline to comment on how we're using AI in the hiring process, it's still a confidentiality. But I think it's widespread, you can go and see, like, every resume is going through a filter at any company that's more than like 5,000 people. Which goes back to like, if you have a network and you can get into the door without that, you're much better off. I think as to the AI skills, I'll date myself here, like, when I first entered the workforce, it was like, oh, do you know Windows 3.1 in Microsoft Office? I knew you would. And like, that was like the tool set, and I think the tool set now is, you know, they're all different ones. There's ChatGPT, there's image stuff, there's, you know, and I think that those, I've been thinking about a lot about this. I did this thing called Code Montana 10 years ago. I've been thinking about how do we get much younger than you in, you know, middle school. John, another pioneer in Big John with the dual enrollment thing, right, with teaching Python at a high school, which is like, how do we get everyone enabled with these tools? Because they are the tools you're going to need to succeed.
can I just add, your threshold of 5,000 employees on Denver using AI?
Might be lower.
It might be lower, but.
It might be higher.
Like, we're not there, we're using some like. Machine learning, but we're not eliminating people for the same reason, because also we're looking strong at the public, like, to understand why us.
Yeah.
And, but here's, so I would say the smaller companies aren't quite that area.
I think ours is probably a little bit color out, a little off that as well. Last time I checked, like 2 years ago, we we're getting 10,000 resumes a day.
Yeah.
Oh, so there's no, and when we first built right now, all the people that applied to the development, there's Mike Meyer as our CTO. And he picked the 3 he wanted, and then I ran technical support. He'd give me the other 97, and I'd comb through them to figure out who I wanted.
But that's also why you do,
Yeah.
your content needs to match
Yep.
what they're looking for.
Yep.
You need to understand the
Yeah.
company.
Why are
And
you?
but this is a great example of all different sizes of companies and what they're doing. This is a great example for that. So I think we're